What we do is we support manufacturing and logistics, and one of the ways we do that is through partnerships, particularly with the Burlington Northern BNSF Railroad, who you're going to hear from today. So what today's going to do, and it's going to be a short conversation because you have a lot of other really important speakers, including my boss, Mayor Frank Scott, coming up a little bit later. But what we're going to do is have a little conversation with Adam at BNSF about how we can make our communities more viable, more economically sustainable, and how we can get people involved that maybe aren't involved or don't know how to get involved to help grow wealth for everyone in the community. So, Adam, can you hear us? Can you see us? Can you give us?
I sure can.
All right. Well, Adam.
Hello, everyone.
So Adam Price is the strategic sourcing manager for the Burlington Northern BNSF Railroad, and he manages supplier risk, quality audits, and most importantly, supplier diversity programs. So Adam, let me tell you a little bit about the BNSF Railroad real quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Adam and ask him a few questions. If anyone in the audience has a question, if you'll write it down and give it to Amber or somebody, we'll see if we can get that answer too. But BNSF headquarters is headquartered in Fort Worth, Texas. They have about 32,000 routes in 28 states moving rail commodity across the country. One of the coolest things about the headquarters in Fort Worth, if you like Western art, they have some amazing original art, Remington statues and paintings. They've got a great tour. It's a wonderful place to go. But BNSF is a major railroad operator in Arkansas, operate primarily west of the Mississippi, and we couldn't do what we do without them. So Adam, thank you for what you do. What I'd like to do is ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe tell us a little bit more about BNSF if I missed something, and then more importantly, tell us how we can, let me throw this first question out there, tell us how BNSF Railroad has taken steps to ensure supplier diversity, particularly with some of the challenges we've had in our supply chain over the last couple of years. It's a mouthful, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the nice introduction there. And you opened great with BNSF. Can everybody hear me okay? I want to start there.
Everybody here in the back room? It's all good.
Okay, perfect. So, and as he said, we operate mainly over the western half of the United States. And BNSF has accumulated over 170 years and over a number of acquisitions and mergers over time. So we're happy to be at the top of one of the class one railroads, and are happy to be able to serve our customers in all the communities that we have. One of the things during I will say during the pandemic that we noticed. Of course, as a railroad, we were considered a critical infrastructure, and we were still running trains 24/7. And so, it really, you want to talk about supply chain issues, trying to get PPE for our engineers and conductors on the trains, in addition to the folks that are out on the rails that are having to make repairs and still do inspections across our network. And so we really had to dig deep, and one of the great stories that I like is we have a company that one of our suppliers that for years has provided employee recognition items for many years. And my director, Leanne, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, she had reached out to them and said, look, we are needing PPE, and if you can remember during the pandemic, especially during the beginning, how hard it was to get. And so she reached out to, just happened to be on the phone with the supplier and explained the trouble we're having. And she said, hang on, let me get right back to you. And so she turned on a dime. This is one of our women-owned businesses that we do a great amount of business with for a long time. And she called back and said, hey, I got you covered. And this ended up turning into a little over $1 million contract for her in her business, and just trying to get PPE for us. And one of the things that we try and do is, one, we want to mirror our communities with the employees that work for us, also our supplier. We want to, be able to reach out to those diverse suppliers in those communities, and they are a huge benefit to BNSF. And while there aren't many that build locomotives, there are many that service locomotives, track, rail. We're a corporate office, so we have office supplies, we have janitorial services, we have construction companies, all across our network. So we really focus on trying to make sure they have a seat at the table. When we do our RFPs, we always reach out. That's one of the requirements in our RFPs is to have diverse business candidates in there. And we're very fortunate at BNSF that we've had a strong supplier diversity program for well over 20 years. And our buyers that are in our sourcing team, they are bought in, and it's not uncommon just for them to reach out either by email or just in the hallway. They reach out and say, hey, I'm looking for this, who you got in the pipeline. They also have access to our supplier tool or database that we have where they can go in and look, but a lot of times they just reach out straight to me or Leanne and say, we're looking for this, how can you help us?
So Adam, you've kind of hinted at it a little bit, and obviously y'all been doing it for a long time. You have a whole team that focuses on supplier diversity and outreach. How does that help BNSF, which is one of the largest companies in the world, owned by the way, the wealthiest man, almost the wealthiest man in the world? Important. How does that help you accomplish your strategic objectives as a corporation, having this aggressive supply chain diversity procurement process?
Well, I think the biggest piece of it is that a lot of times, we have large companies or large suppliers, that we utilize, but there are times where they can't turn on a dime. We need something and we need to react quickly. And that's where a lot of our diverse suppliers come to play, because they be a little smaller, but they're also very nimble. And
hang on, Adam, just a second. We've lost you for a second there. Give me a minute. I can see you, but the audience can't see you. We've got our IT experts coming up. Maybe. And I may have. Oh, okay. Did I do something? Okay, sorry, we're back. So can you kind of repeat? We lost you for just a second. You were talking about turning on the dime.
Right, and this is where while a supplier may be smaller in size, this is where they can be very nimble as opposed to a larger corporation that we may be using for a certain supply. Whether it could be rebuilding turbos for a locomotive, or being able to provide electronic capabilities or services, even down to programming for coding and on our TS side. So this is where we utilize those diverse businesses, and really, our goal is to be that liaison between the diverse business and suppliers out there to being able to get into corporate. And that's where we see the biggest struggle with the smaller company, because you just can't reach out to a BNSF or a Coca-Cola or a Toyota or an American Airlines and just call the general number and say, hey, looking to try and get in and into your business and sell and supply you with things. And it's just not that easy nowadays. And so, we're trying to be that liaison to be able to get that foot forward and be able to get everybody into the supply chain that we can.
Good. That's a good segue to the next question. So you do have an aggressive outreach program to identify suppliers and potential people to procure from. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how that works. On the other side, though, even though there's not an easy number to call and say, hey, can I get to your vendor list? If someone in the audience wanted to get on your opportunity list, maybe you could talk about what y'all are doing to attract minority and women-owned businesses and supplier chain diversity, and what these minority and women-owned businesses can do to get on your list.
Absolutely. So I'll start with that. And we have, and I'm sure many of the suppliers that are in the office are familiar with the all favorite supplier portals that everybody has. Sometimes can be a pain in the neck, and I'll admit ours is a little quirky. But if you go to just bnsf.com, at the top of the page, there's a tab that says suppliers. And then you can go in there and there's a link to request access to our supplier pre-assessment form. Okay. That's where you will set up an account. It's a living, breathing account. You can go back in and update. You can change things later on, but you can upload capability statements, indicate any of the certifications that you have, whether it's WINK, NMSDC. You can also indicate, your insurance levels, all of the information about your company in there. And then one important piece is if you've ever done any work with other railroads. And that's very important because we look at that because, it could be somebody that's worked for UP or CSX. And, a lot of us use kind of same materials, same services. And so we're able to share as well. But once you complete that form, it goes into our system and it's directed to the group of buyers that handles that particular service or material. And then when there's diversity, supplier diversity indicated in there, it's when I'm notified. And that way I can kind of keep track and kind of be that liaison if anybody's having trouble getting a hold of somebody or in contact. And one of the biggest things I can suggest is, don't be afraid to reach out. There may not be an opportunity today, tomorrow, maybe next week, even next year, but keep that form up to date and don't hesitate to reach out because you never know when a plan or some type of project may come up, whether it's spur of the moment or maybe it's something that's put into our capital project for the following year. And that's where, an opportunity may arise.
So Adam, if we get on the list, if one of the local vendors gets on your list, you talked about they could reach out to you. Do y'all do any other kind of technical support, capacity building? Do you help these smaller businesses? Do you have seminars or virtual seminars that interested parties or interested vendors could participate in? Or is it just as simple as getting on the vendor list and looking for opportunities?
Yeah, the biggest piece is getting on the vendor list. But one of the other things that we do is we participate with WeBank and the NMSDC on both a regional and national level. And so we're heavily involved with the regional activities that go on here in our area. Of course, the Women's Business Council Southwest, which kind of goes into Arkansas. My director, Leanne, is actually on the board. That's where she's involved with today. She had some board activities that she had to attend to. But we always try and do they have an event called Connections to Contracts. NMSDC has roundtables at national convention, also at the regional level, and a lot of that is just huge networking. And when we go to these events, what we do is I'll reach out to our buyers and say, hey, I'm going to these networking events. Tell me what you're looking for, either right now and then future. And so when I'm at these roundtables and these meet and greets, I can kind of lay out what we're looking for, whether it's services for contract sourcing with contractors and temporary employment, or it's all the way to drones. So it lets me kind of put some feelers out there to kind of figure out what's out there and then kind of make those contacts as we go. But I can't stress to you enough how important it is to attend those type of events. Use your councils that you're members with. If you are having trouble finding a contact to a certain company, even if it's not ours, our board can say, hey, I know who that is. And even my director, Leanne, will say, yeah, I can get you in touch with them. That's no problem. And in addition to at the national level, we are, as a transportation organization, we are in a smaller work group with the railroads, airlines, FedEx, trucking companies. And so we get together annually and quarterly as a group, as a work group, to say, you know, what are the new things that are out there? What are y'all working on? We share contacts. You know, of course, we're kind of a small group. So we had an example of Norfolk Southern over on the East Coast, where they were looking for somebody that could work on and inspect chassis for the intermodal containers, and couldn't find someone. And of course, we were able to say, hey, we've got a company that we've been using for many, many years. Reach out to them. So now they have a contract with them. So, and it's a woman-owned business as well. So there's the opportunities can just really just grow and compound based on that networking.
I've got a couple more questions, and we might take one or two from the audience before we ring off.
Sure.
But I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to give you 60 seconds to give me, just to go down, don't even think about it, just give me a list of all the services that folks could provide for you. Kind of talked about drones, janitorial, welders. Just start rambling.
Sure.
Talk about things that we might not be thinking about that you could use vendors for.
Sure. Fuel delivery. We're
Hang on one second. We're having sound problems again. Okay. We're going to switch out a piece of equipment. I don't mean to put you on the spot. You can think real quick what that is all about there. Okay.
Not a problem.
All right. We're ready. I think you can roll. Just give us a list.
All right. So let's talk about fuel, petroleum products, grease, oil, paper products, office paper, office supplies, drones, programming, contract employment. We look for anything from HR, learning, development tools, training aspects. We have our own medical team, so we do drug and alcohol testing, going to wellness. Also looking at construction companies from, you know, all across our network, whether it's civil engineering, heavy civil, building rail, building track. We have companies that build and facilitate working on products like wheels and wheel sets for our locomotives, car repair. Goodness. Let's see, I'm trying to think here, all the different departments. We have, of course, finance, we have travel. One of the big things we do is we have to provide hotel rooms for all of our crews that are out on the network, which equals to about 1 million night stays every year.
Wow.
So looking for, especially looking for diverse hotels that fit that bill.
So it kind of sounds like that just almost anything, almost everything. I mean, y'all are
just about everything.
You're one of the big guys or gals, and you could do just about everything. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll see if there's any in the audience. Unfortunately, there's in certain, and this is not meant to be political. Anybody in the room, don't say Brian was political, but I'm going to ask this question. Unfortunately, in certain parts of our country, there are conversations about maybe steering clear or moving away from seeking diverse supply chains and giving opportunities to those that maybe haven't normally had them. I know BNSF is not going to alter your course, but what does your job look like, say, in 10 years? Where is BNSF as you continue to enhance your procurement strategy, as you continue to enhance your vendor list? What does it look like in a decade?
Well, I hope that it just continues on the path that we're on right now, where what our goal, we don't put a dollar goal to supplier diversity as far as dollars goes, but what we look for is a year-over-year growth and year-over-year expansion. So, you know, what I would love to see in the future is an easier type of database that is shared, because, you know, every council has their own database. And I would like to see where it's easier to, instead of having to go to multiple different databases, to be able to have a one-stop shop where, you know, you can just kind of put in a keyword for what you're looking for, and then it just drops right in front of you. You know, I think a lot of it is the search and trying to find those diverse businesses. You know, we definitely are, you know, of course, where our locations are, we're in, you know, we're everywhere from in Los Angeles and San Bernardino to little small towns in Montana, and you know, where everybody knows everybody. So we're trying to definitely you know, look like our communities that we serve, which is all across the board. So, you know, that's where I see is just, you know, continuing to get that message out to, you know, don't forget the small businesses, don't forget the small diverse businesses, because they can really help out when, you know, when we're in a critical need.
That's fantastic. Anybody have a question? Yes, sir. If you'll shout it out, I'll repeat it if you can't hear. For the smaller companies? Okay. So Adam, the question is some of our smaller companies struggle with potential bankruptcy or financial challenges, what is BNSF able to do to help some of those companies avoid those crises, maybe in terms of pay on demand or other things that you might have in your system that can help that small supplier meet your needs, but then also avoid financial challenges if it's down the road?
Well, and I don't actually write many contracts or agreements, so I'm going to shoot from the hip a little bit here, but really that's kind of done when the buyers get into the negotiations of the agreement on the, like say, the payment terms. You know, most for some of the smaller suppliers that I work with, mainly on quality audits, they're smaller firms, and you know, it's either like net 15 or net 30 is what I'm familiar with. And so, you know, I think it's, I know our finance team works very hard, and we do a pretty good job of, you know, once an invoice is submitted, getting it through the process and simplifying that for the suppliers. You know, that's something I could probably take back and talk to some more people that would be more heavily involved in that.
I think that would be good because we've built an email list and we could respond back. Did that answer your question, sir? Did that?
Probably not real well.
Yeah, he's giving you a thumbs up. One more question. Great. We have time for one more. Yes, ma'am.
How do you work with your prime contractors in an effort to engage more diverse subcontractors?
Did you hear that, Adam? How do you work with your big guys to bring in the smaller companies, the diverse companies?
Well, and I can use, I'll kind of give two answers. So here at BNSF, a good example is we use an MSP for our contract workforce. And so, you know, we'll go to them, and then whenever, say for example, I go to a networking event and I come back and I've made tons of contacts with these diverse suppliers that do, whether it's TS work or finance or clerical, those type of specializations. You know, I can go back to them and say, hey, I've found these diverse companies, and you know, fortunately, they'll say, okay, great, pass me their information. We'll reach out and see if there's an opportunity to kind of bring them into the mix. And another piece of that is with our prime suppliers that we use, we require them to do their tier 2 reporting spend. And so that way we use a company called Supplier IO that's kind of a record keeper for that. And they provide spend, whether it's direct spend or if it's indirect spend, showing us what their efforts are as far as their diverse workforce and subcontractors that they utilize as well. And we report that to them as, you know, as our customers, because a lot of times it's requested in the contracts and agreements.
Good. So we're out of time, and we've got some more speakers. So Adam, I won't do this publicly, but would it be possible as a follow-up that we could share your email with our participants if they had any specific questions?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
we'll get that out to everybody. And let's give Adam a big round of applause for joining us. So the most important question for me is, how are the Dallas Cowboys going to do this fall?
Well, I can kind of tell you this. One, for me personally, I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Oh, okay, all right. Never mind.
I'm more into the college ball, but one thing I'd like to leave the audience with is just remember Christmas time is around the corner. So please buy big items like televisions, refrigerators, things that go on rail cars, because if you can only imagine how many gift cards it takes to fill up a rail car, just buy big stuff. That's what we like.
Adam, you've been fantastic. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon, and thank you all for having me.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Brian.